Origi!
Hello and welcome to the Liverpool Away podcast. We've just beaten Girona 1-0 to secure our spot in the automatic qualification places and keep up our 100% record in the Champions League, as a Mo Salah pen was enough to get the job done in Spain. I'm Dave Usher, editor at liverpoolaway.co.uk, and I'm joined for this one by the only one of the lads who could be asked doing it, the ever-reliable Dan Thomas. Dan, sum that one up for us.
I better made with the impersonations, Dave, because there's not really a whole lot to talk about here. It was a functional away performance, really. First half, not great. Really wasteful with the ball. Looked vulnerable in points without it as well. When Girona were on the attack, second half was much better, bar a couple of moments here and there. We kind of exercised almost total control, didn't we? When the goal came, it felt like it had been coming for 5-10 minutes, and they didn't change the tactics when they went 1-0 down either. They just continued to sit in, which, you know, that's fine by us. But ultimately, it's another 3 points in this remarkable European season that we're having. That's 6 out of 6 in the old days, as in like earlier this year. That would have been your lot, 6 group games. But now we have to press on. We've got Lille coming up, and I forget who our last game is.
Isn't it?
I think you might be right. Actually, yeah, I think it is. So with that being said, we're pretty much qualified. I know it's not mathematical, but
more or less,
it's been
a
certainty. It's been a cert for since before the Real Madrid game that we were going through. When you get to like 5 wins out of 5, there's no way we're not going through, just because you need snooker for us to not go in. So yeah, not a great performance, but it's enough. It was kind of like a walking pace for most of the game, and I'm okay with that, given we've got a lot of football to play at the moment. It felt like an energy conserving exercise, and if we wanted to go up a gear or two, we could have. And if we'd have been better with our decision making, we wouldn't have even needed to have done that, to be honest.
A classic case of just doing enough, just getting the job done. Good professional job. I think I touched on it recently, that we tend to play down to the level of our opposition at times as well. You know, if we're playing away at a really top team tonight, it would have been a completely different performance, but we just done what we needed to do. The first half, I thought, like in the first 5-10 minutes, I thought we were going to blow them away, because we started really well, didn't we? I mean, Joe Gomez nearly scored. It's like, fucking hell, that was like... Oh, imagine if that had gone in. I do think, though, his goal's not going to come in a game like this. It's going to be something significant when it happens. But it looked like he was going to score from that corner. He's got good contact on it, but straight at the keeper. Just has to be a yard either side, and that's his first goal. But we did start well, created chances, we were looking dangerous, and then I think from about 15 minutes on, it got a little bit ragged, and they started counter-attacking on us, and it was a bit end to end, as you said, really. The second half was totally different. Second half was controlled. We basically stopped them from doing any of that. Like, they just wanted to play on the break, didn't we? And the second half, we just didn't really let them do that. 1 or 2 moments aside, and any time like that, they did get near the goal. Alisson was there, wasn't he? I didn't think Alisson did anything amazing tonight, you know, but he often doesn't have to. It's his positioning, isn't it? Like, a lot of the time, it's like, oh, it's gone straight at him. And it's like, yeah, it's gone straight at him because of where he's positioned. So, I mean, what did you think of Alisson tonight?
Positioning. Yeah, great to have him back. Positioning and anticipation is what makes Alisson stand out from the rest. It's just a calm, reassuring presence. And I feel as well, and again, I'm not criticising Kelleher, who has done a great job deputising for Alisson. I just feel with Alisson on the field, there's a bit more control, and I know we use that word a lot on this podcast and with this football club at the moment. The BT commentator certainly couldn't stop using it. He will come and deal with problems a lot more proactively and front-footed than Kelleher does. He will be coming out to the edge of his box straight away, no hesitations, no question marks. That's my ball. So he gives that kind of command, and that's what separates the top keepers for me, whether they can control the box as well as as he does, and he does it better than most keepers.
In fairness, you did say that about Kelleher, didn't you? There was a recent game when we were all praising him, and you said there's a couple of times you were thinking he needed to be further out to deal with stuff.
It was Chelsea. It was Chelsea at Anfield when we was on the back foot a lot by choice, and it was just like balls in between the fullback and the centre half. I just felt that Kelleher wasn't coming to get them, whereas today Alisson's like my ball straight away, and the centre halves know that, and it's like okay, start the attack. In terms of the saves that he made, I agree. He didn't do anything that I wouldn't expect him to do. He did well to get down to the best chance probably when the lad up front completely miskicked. He tried to go with it right and sliced.
It was Daley Blind,
and I think it was
wasn't it? It was Daley Blind who got into the box and he missed his kick.
Yeah, well, that's pretty much in
Probably
keeping with
got a nosebleed being that far up there.
Yeah, and he remembered that he used to play for Manchester United. And then I think it was the right back, wasn't it, who fired the shot in. Alisson did well to get to. Again, it wasn't a particularly taxing save. He clawed one out. It looked like the top corner, didn't it?
I want to ask you about that one.
I think
the reason why I want to ask you about that is when I seen that, I thought, was that much different to Isak's shot that went in last week?
Not for me. No, I think Isak's was just power. Raw power. With that one, it was kind of opportunistic, and it felt to me like that was in the air for quite a bit longer, and he had I think he could have caught it if he wanted to, but he just chose the safe option and just pushed it round. But for me, Isak is a much more powerful strike than that one, and there's no time to do anything about it. Whereas with that one, you've got time to think, okay, I need to move my feet. I need to move my feet again and then spring. Kelleher didn't have the benefit or the luxury of that last week with Isak. It was just hit first time at 70 mile an hour. That was going at some speed. With this one, it's a good dig, don't get me wrong, but it's not. So I would expect any of the goalkeepers at the club to save that. To be honest, I didn't think it was anything that none of the keepers would have saved.
The only reason I ask is because Alisson makes a lot of these saves. And I do think that sometimes like it looks easier because it's Alisson and because of his starting position and anticipation. I think that's what makes him the best for me. It's not that he pulls off. Like, I mean, if you want to talk about someone who pulls off amazing saves, Jordan Pickford makes some of the best saves that you'll ever see, but he needs to. He has to make those saves because like the position that he's in to start with. And I'm not saying he's in bad positions. I'm just saying this is what separates Alisson from everyone else. Alisson generally doesn't have to make these incredible saves because his fundamentals are just so sound. So all the saves he made tonight, they look easy. I'm like, is it easy just because it's Alisson? And he just makes it look like that?
The one kind of save that Alisson makes better than any goalkeeper I've ever seen, I think, apart from Peter Schmeichel, is the one-on-ones, because he's a big, massive man.
Chest, doesn't he? Loads of times hits him in the chest.
Yeah. He made that very. It turned out to be a pivotal save against Napoli. I can't remember who had the shot. It was a brilliant
do you know what, Dan?
save.
I actually remember who that was.
Can
you believe that? Me with my fucking shit memory. It was that the Polish striker Malik Schick or something. You know what I'm talking about? I'm sure it was him.
Oh,
Schick. It's Czech striker, not Polish. He's Czech.
It's
Patrick Schick. Yeah, don't know where I got Malik from, but yeah. And I got the surname right and the nationality eventually. So yeah, I'm impressed at that. I've done well there.
Yeah, that's certainly shaking off your footballing Alzheimer's there, mate. Which I mean, I'm coming down with it quite badly as well, because you asked a question who scored Real Madrid's second goal a few weeks ago. And I had to think. It was like, it's only a couple of days ago. I was like, no, it was Cody Gakpo.
I didn't know either goal. It was about 5 or 6 days after the game, and I had to post in the chat. I was like, "Who scored against Madrid last week, lads?" Because I can't remember either goal. And then I got the first one, but the second one I needed you to tell me. I mean, that's 6 days earlier in like a massive game against Real Madrid, and I couldn't remember who scored. It's fucking terrible getting old.
Obviously we're feasting out too much on routine 2-0 wins over the European champions, aren't we?
So yeah, good start. Petered out a little bit, end to end basketball stuff. We had a couple of chances, nothing, no like clear sitters or anything like that, but we had like plenty of good situations because it was so open. Like I would not have expected us to have had overloads and counter attacking opportunities, but there was plenty of them, wasn't it? So we had
Loads.
Darwin's had a couple of chances. So my take on the two chances, um, I don't think he's done anything particularly wrong on either. It's just the first one, it's just on your left foot, not a great angle, just get good contact and hope it goes in. Keeper's made the save. Second one, he's gone across goal like you're supposed to. Keeper stuck a leg out, made a good save. If you're flying with confidence, maybe you go higher with that, and you blast it into the top corner rather than go low. But in the situation he's in, he's not flying with confidence at all. He's just, he's done what you're supposed to do is just try to go across the goalkeeper. If he scuffs that, it goes through the keeper's legs. But it's just one of those. So I didn't think that the two chances were anything like to be criticising for, but I didn't think he did enough in the game. I need more, just more in the build up. I need him to be just looking like he's a bit more. I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, but I do think he's really drained of confidence at the moment. But the header, like when he should have gone for the goal himself, and he tried to head it back and totally missed it. That was poor. There was another one when he tried to play like a little pass to the back post and totally overhit that, and yeah, he just looked bereft of confidence. But it's frustrating because tonight that's the kind of game where you can nick yourself a goal and get back on track. And the two chances he had, neither of them went in, unfortunately.
Whilst it's the best kind of game for that, Dave, I get the feeling that Darwin kind of thrives more on the higher intensity stuff because I thought he played really well. He's had a couple of good performances recently, either from the start or coming on.
Not Newcastle. That
Front,
was not good.
not Newcastle, no, not good at all. He wasn't great tonight. I agree that his finishing, for the two chances that he had, I don't think he did a great deal wrong. It's like the left footed one in particular. That's not a. I don't want
Low
to
XG.
sound like
Low XG.
like Mon.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. I was going to say I don't want to sound like Monty.
No one
but,
ever wants
yes,
to sound like Monty.
had well, quite. Well, if we can always come back to Stu if we want to talk about people blazing things into the crowd, which we may well do
penalties.
later on. Yeah. Well, so Darwin is just it's a worry for me at the moment because normally if someone's not in a good run of form, you can just say right, okay, just sit this game out and get your head sorted. But we don't have the luxury to do that at the moment because Jota is made of Pringles. Now the commentator, when we're not using the word control, mentioned that Jota might be back for the weekend, and that will be a huge boost if he is, not just for in terms of scoring, but just to give people a rest. And Darwin shouldn't really need one because he's not started it all the time recently.
And he's not finishing either.
He needs, yeah,
Excuse
exactly.
the pun.
I just think he needs. He just, well, double-edged sword. For me, it just feels like he needs to be taken off the firing line for a little bit because you can see his confidence.
I don't think that helps either, though. I think you've just got to put your belief in him and just tell him, look, it's fine, just keep going. I don't think taking him out is going to be helpful.
We're going to have a lot of the ball against Fulham on Saturday, as evidenced by the way they played against Arsenal on Sunday. They just sat in and Arsenal just kept coming at them and they kept repelling them. So we're going to have a lot of the ball. It's going to be difficult for him to use his what should be his biggest attribute, which is his pace, to get him in behind the team that's going to just drop in like that. So it's going to be a difficult one for him again on Saturday, but it is becoming a problem not only for him but for the team as well. I'm not a Darwin hater. I wanted us to sign him before anyone, based on that Benfica game when he absolutely shredded us with two offsides that I thought were miles off and were actually miles on. So I've got a lot of time and patience with him, but it's hurting us. Like you can't throw in the performance he did at Newcastle when we didn't play particularly brilliantly, but if Jota's on the field, he probably buries one of the chances that came Darwin's way. Now tonight, I'm not too concerned about the finishing. To be honest with you, as you've already alluded to, I don't think we particularly wasted any huge chances as it was. What we did do is waste chances to
Yeah,
create
we
chances.
did.
Our decision making, picking up the fact there was a 5-on-4, and I think
Curtis.
Curtis ended up rolling it through to the
No,
keeper. It
he
was
tried to roll
terrible.
Darwin in, and he played it behind him, and like the fullback just cut inside and cut it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was bad.
And I'm not just pointing the finger at Curtis or Darwin. There was a couple of situations, maybe not as
It's a
clear cut
team
as that,
failing, Dan. We're
but
always shit in those
yeah,
situations. Overloads. It's like we
yeah,
just do we
it's
ever fucking practice them? Because we're so bad when it was
and
5v4s, 3v2s, even 2v1s. You just wouldn't back us to convert them. We're just terrible at them.
and when you look, and again, I'm not comparing Arne Slot to Jurgen Klopp. But Arne Slot has clearly made his own mark on the team. But if that was last season under Jurgen, like we used to always get that right. It felt like we used to always have like the red
Up
arrows
until the Man
from
United game,
yeah,
that's when it all went fucking belly up, didn't it? We were so wasteful, and then we never really recovered from that.
yeah. I'd forgotten all about that game. I'm sure the Manx have got a DVD out about it, but I'd forgotten all about that one. The sad thing is they probably have, because they have probably DVD-fied their FA Cup triumph, and it should have been us.
Yeah.
So that's frustrating. But I digress, which I'm very good at doing. Darwin is on thin ice. I think I am starting to get the feeling that Slot is not gonna put up with this, and I'm beginning to think that it might be his last season. I think we might look to move him on in the summer. As it stands, unless there's a huge purple patch or a huge uptick in form, I don't think Slot is going to put up with that. And it's not, like, as I say, it's not an issue I am entrenched on. I like all of our players, and I'd like to see him do well, but we need to see more from him, because it's hurting the team at the moment, as well as him personally.
No, a great man once sang, "Keep the faith." That's what I'm doing. That same great man, I'll steal another phrase from him. At the moment, when it comes to me and Darwin, it's like we are having a tough time, and it's like we're feeling like a Monday, but someday we'll be Saturday night. We've just got to wait, and night's always darkest before the dawn. All of that stuff, not good at the moment. Just got to hope he can just turn things around. And it's one of those where it's like you just get a goal and then see where it goes from there. But having Jota back helps, because I think it's going to catch up with us, the rotation aspect of it. We've kind of been okay. We've had four strikers for three positions, and every game we make one change and the substitutions. The only constant is that Mo plays like fucking 90 minutes every game, which tonight I thought, what are we doing here? Why are we leaving Mo on? Get him off. There's no point to leaving him out there. I know he's like super fit and everything else, but we have seen that he drops off in the second half of the season. Like it's happened a few times, and okay, AFCON's usually played a part in that, but I don't know. I think maybe we should just be protecting him when we've got the opportunity to do it. And I felt like tonight we probably could have done, because although it was only 1-0, there was no way they were going to score. The way that second half was, it was so comfortable. We just had them under like total control. I didn't see any danger. And I thought we could have done a better job in terms of getting players a bit of a rest. But yeah, getting Jota back and Chiesa as well. I mean, Chiesa's actually fit now, and then he's sick and he couldn't travel over. Now I'm sick as well, so he's probably just got this bug that's going around. So I'm not like holding that against him by any means. But it does make you think, is this just not meant to be? Is this going to be one of those signings where it's just one thing after another and he just can't get himself like fully fit and getting a run? I'm not prepared to say that yet. It's still far too early. And if they've got him fit and he can contribute, even if it's just coming in and playing like cup games, and we've got the 2 Champions League games coming up, even if his contribution is just to come in and play in those games, which means others can have a rest, that's important. I feel like that's a big thing, if it means we can just protect Mo a little bit. But we've not really been able to do that, because we've had 4 forwards for 3 spots, and we've basically had 4 midfielders for 3, because Endo doesn't really seem to be in the equation, other than like for the League Cup or bringing him on for 2 minutes at the end of a game, which again,
I was just going to say for the last 2 minutes of the
yeah,
match.
and again, I thought, why? Why didn't you just bring him on for 10 minutes? I just, like, because Slot said the other week, he was praising him for, I bring him on in stoppage time and he comes on and his attitude's like as though he's starting the game. His head never drops. He does exactly what I want him to do. And yeah, that's great. And by all means, pay tribute to that. Well done, Endo. But give him a bit of a reward. Like, at least give him like 10 or 15 tonight. Because, Gravenberg's playing so many minutes as well, and he looked leggy at Newcastle last week. Thought he was really good tonight again. But
very good,
yeah, but
very good.
Again, you could have just given him a bit of a rest. So that's a little bit of a concern for me. I think we should be taking more opportunities to rest players when we can. Tonight was a good chance to do that, but if we can get some of them back, like Chiesa, Harvey's back now, so that's a good thing. Tyler Morton being injured tonight again, that was another one. It's like that was an opportunity where maybe we could have played him. Hopefully he'll be back for Southampton. Is that next week? Who do we play next midweek? I know because every week we've got a midweek.
It's Southampton,
so it's the cup game next week.
Cup, isn't
okay.
It? Yes, yes.
See, ideally you would have wanted Tyler Morton fit for that, so I don't know what the injury is. Yeah, I would have just liked to have seen a little bit more of a rest for certain players tonight when the game was. I know it's only 1-0, but I mean, come on, you could see like that they just had nothing left. They ran their race in the first half, and the second half we just had them at arm's length. But yeah, in terms of chances, second half wasn't that many again, but we didn't need to. Once we got the penalty, that was all we needed, wasn't it? Just the one chance. We'll talk about the penalty. Like, I was calling for it straight away, but it wasn't for the foul that it actually, the foul that we seen on the replay. That's not. I didn't realise that had happened. I thought he'd barged him in the back, and then when we saw the replay again, we were arguing in the chat with Brownie. Brownie's going on about that's not a penalty. That's soft. I'd be fuming if it was given against us. And I'm like, what the fuck's he talking about? He stood on the back of his foot to the point where his boot comes off, and then it knocks us, because the force of it, as boot comes off, it knocks his foot out from under him. He tries to plant it. He's got no studs now. He's just in his socks. So he slips and goes down. It's an absolute stonewall penalty. I don't know why it took that many. How many do we see what the VAR sees? No one was seeing all them replays. Is that what VAR's looking at?
I believe they've got more angles than we have, but fundamentally, yes.
So, because there was about 6 or 7 replays from the same angle of him standing on his foot. The fact that his boot came off was all you needed to know, that there was significant contact. Took ages, and then send the referee to the screen. I don't think even that referee, some of the bizarre decisions he made, I didn't think there was any way he was not giving that. And he seemed to have it in for Diaz, didn't he?
Poor predictable Dan always blames ref.
I'll let you go after him, Dan. That booking for Diaz is one of the worst bookings I've ever seen in my life.
It was outrageous, wasn't it? Yeah, good old blaming referees. Nothing beats that. No, he was terrible. Unlike the referee against Real Madrid, who was actually much better in the second half, this guy was out of his depth in the first half, and he was out of his depth in the second half when he started waving cards around. For me, I was still fizzing at the yellow cards because I hate it when players get booked for nothing like that. It just infuriates me, because all it takes is the referee to decide that that's a dive, you're off. And there was a couple.
Which he almost did.
Where Diaz, Diaz went down because he got absolutely wellied, and the referee did that annoying thing where he starts to say get up. It's like, hang on a second, he's just absolutely wellied him. So yeah, that for me was kind of like vindication, justification, redemption for that absolutely outrageous yellow card. I can understand what Brownie means when you see some of the things that penalties get given for. It's like, it's towards the softer end, but he has stood on his boots. Originally, I was watching it and I was like, if he's giving it for the leg going round the back, there's nothing there really. And then I spotted the boot.
Well, that's what Brownie thought it was.
Yeah.
He didn't even see the boot coming off. He thought it was for the leg going around, which that's not a penalty.
I mean, to be fair to Brown, he's had a Bailey's, hasn't he? So he's
That does
not
explain
compass
it.
mentis. Yeah, I've certainly never forgotten that that 5-0 United away podcast with Brownie and after a few Baileys,
Yeah.
Brownie and Paul. So yeah, I understand why there was kind of discussion about it. It's not the most clear cut penalty you'll ever see, but it is based on the fact that he stood on his foot, hasn't he? It's impeding him, and it's from behind, so it's a penalty. Lovely finish by Mo as well. We can't understate that enough. I've grown up, and my apologies to the great John Gallagher. I was brought up by my dad to never trust a left-footed penalty taker, and I never have. My dad just said, "Don't trust left-footed penalty takers." And one of the lads who sits near me at the ground, Mick, he got brought up believing the same as well. Don't trust left-footed penalty takers. And to be fair to Mo, he's got himself straight back on the saddle. Great balls to take that penalty against Man City and this one tonight. But in keeping with the match, he just stroked her in, didn't he? It was just such an accurate, unsavable penalty once the goalkeeper commits. It's perfect.
Well, the keeper dived the wrong way. If he goes the right way, it's an easy save. So does Mo know which way he's going, or I suppose we'd have to ask him? But
yeah, I mean, to my mind, most penalty players now wait for the goalkeeper to commit and then back themselves, which is why you see people who change their mind or do these stupid run-ups. Those are the people who miss, because you don't change your mind, and this running up thing, that goose step that Paul Pogba used to do.
yeah.
Talk about a recipe for missing a penalty, and it's just daft. But with Mo, he's no nonsense. He does that kind of jump, doesn't he? He reminds me of Gary Littman when he does that. He does that jump and then just runs up and then just picks his spot, and lovely penalty. Back on the saddle now. That's 2-2 after missing that proper howler against Real Madrid. Of course, I'm appreciating the fact that we're actually getting penalties these days. Yeah. It seems like a distant memory that we used to get them, particularly at Anfield. It seemed to be we went something mad with that, like 3 years without getting a penalty at Anfield or something daft like that, wasn't it?
I think Mo went 3 years without getting a free kick as well at one point.
Well, yeah. It's autumn season on Mo, isn't it? In the Premier League, everyone gets him in the Taz mission, and he gets away with it at least the first time they get away with it. Second, third, or fourth, they might get pulled, but it just depends. I mean, I have seen the main stand. I've seen you guys absolutely lose your shit at linesmen for not giving things against Mo.
Yeah.
When it's obvious from where I'm sat, like in the Himalayas, in the distant peaks of the Upper Kenny stand, that it's a free kick.
Yeah, I often think that like we're putting too much on the referee. Like the linesman's right there looking at it. All they've got to do is just alert the referee and say, no, that's a foul. But sometimes I think like linesmen are told by the refs, look, I'll deal with the free kicks. You just give, throw-ins and stuff. So I don't know. But it is a recurring theme. I'm struggling to think of anything else that really happened. I was bored stiff all night, to be honest. I don't mean that in a negative way. It was a professional job. We done what we had to do, but I was just waiting for the final whistle to go. I didn't really enjoy the game much, probably because like I'm not feeling great. I just wanted it over with. But
I do have one thing I wanted to mention about the game actually. That Dan Juma lad it was a strange decision to take him off. He went on a mazy run, didn't he? He took Joe Gomez back to Argos, and it looked like, and then Virgil saw him coming across. Like, I might actually have to run here. And then after doing all that trickery, Dan Juma remembered that he played for Everton and just booted it into the stand a la Stu Monte. Once Everton touches you, you never see him again, and that was very, very much the same. And Donny van der Beek played as well, which you mentioned in our kind of preamble. Considering they spent a lot of money on him, he's had a very average and mediocre career.
He couldn't even get in the Everton team when he went there on loan. That whole team tonight though, it was like, oh yeah, remember him? Just that whole team full of like Premier League rejects, and the ones who didn't know that I think his name was Frances,
right
centre back. No, the right back was a twat, but the centre back was even worse. The right back's the one who threw himself to the floor when Diaz barely made any contact with his face.
When he brushed him.
That was embarrassing. That was so bad. But the centre back, how he didn't get sent off, I don't know, because he's the one who pulled Gakpo back with 4 times. He was like pulling and pulling, and Gakpo just carried on like shrugging him off and running. And then eventually he just puts 2 hands on his shirt and pulls him back. He gets a yellow card, and then a minute later he goes up for a header and he just wipes him out. He just jumps right into the back of him. Proper shithouse tackle. So yeah, he was a horrible snide bastard. But the rest of the team were just all these like former Premier League deadbeats. Fucking Romeu and Van der Beek, Danjuma. I thought that Aspria looked all right though. He was
he
decent,
did.
like lad in midfield.
Yeah,
he was good.
It just needed like luminaries like Michu in the team. I know Michu's been retired a long time. Michu or Renato Sanchez, people like that.
Renato Sanchez, fucking hell, remember him? He was meant to be like the next big thing.
I still think I think he still plays at a decent. I remember rightly, he might play for Lille. Let me just double check that.
Oh, you've fucking jinxed it now. If we've got him next, he's getting the winner.
He plays. He's on loan from PSG at Benfica. So have him.
Yeah.
But he's 20. He's 27 now. Yeah. He's never had the career that he was meant to. But a lot of them don't. I mean, remember Freddie Adu? You know, he was the football manager legend and newspaper legend. The Daily Mirror did a big piece on him once. I remember Cherno Samba, another football manager legend. Who these footballers don't always kick on, but now I'm really showing my age now, aren't I?
We tried to sign Cherno Samba. We were like pulling out all the stops to get him when he was at Millwall. Couldn't get the deal done, and then he just turned out to be like nothing. But yeah, we were when I think it was when Julio was in charge. We were like desperately trying to get him.
Well, it's when you think like just look at someone like Danny Cadamarteri. You know, he got off to that amazing start in his career and then just ended up nothing.
He was shit though. He just relied on he scored that 1 goal against us. I think he might have scored against United as well. And then, but he was always shit. I don't think he even had like a reputation coming through. You know the way like Franny Jeffers did and like Michael Owen, players like that. You knew about them. I think he was just some fucking jabroni who just got given a chance. I don't know how we've ended up on Danny Cadamarteri here. That fucking hell.
Yeah, what's Michael Branch doing?
Yeah, anything else from tonight? Because let's just get a move on. I don't think there's anything else to cover from it.
It's not going to be a night well.
So who played well? Who caught your eye? Obviously Alisson. Anyone else?
I thought Gravenberch was excellent. I thought he was comfortably the best player on the pitch. I thought
Dom put a shift
back
in
to his
well.
best. Dom put a shift in, yeah. Again with the ball, infuriating, not great. But I think Van Dijk was pretty comfortable as well. I thought Robbo was quite strong as well. And yeah, there's lots of 6 out of 10 performances, and that is totally fine. I'm not criticising that because Gravenberch was 7.
Yeah,
you know, at best, and I would probably argue he was the best player on the field. So yeah, Alisson, routine, does his usual stuff. Yeah, just. It's a 6 out of 10 performance, and that's fine. No issues with that whatsoever. We was resting with the ball quite a bit as well. No problem with that. We've got a big game at the weekend. Every game is a big game when you're in this position in the league. Every game is massive. So I'm all for that and perfectly happy with the result and the performance. 6 out of 10 away from Europe at home. 1-0 is totally fine.
You can subscribe to the Liverpool Way podcast on all the major platforms, whether it's Apple, Google, Spotify, Amazon or Podbean. Just search for the Liverpool Way, leave us a review and hit subscribe to automatically receive all new episodes. You can also head to liverpoolway.co.uk and grab a TLW season ticket for just £3 a month. There's tons of exclusive content, including match reports from every Liverpool game, weekly Premier League roundups, the TLW diary and access to the members-only forum. Lastly, you can follow us on social media at The Liverpool Way on Twitter and at The Liverpool Way TLW on Instagram and Facebook.
Yeah, so I think playing the game on a Tuesday, I don't know if the early kickoff makes a difference. It might do in terms of travelling back and stuff. But playing Tuesday night helps for the Saturday game, so that's probably why he's played like such a strong team tonight. Are you expecting many changes for the weekend? Because Mac is still suspended, isn't he? So he's not going to come back in.
Yeah, I don't really think we can change it up that much, Dave. To be honest, it's just we're a bit. I don't want to use the word bare bones. I'm not Harry Redknapp. I'm not leaning out of a portable car window. I just think that we're in the position we're in because Slot has his 11 and he wants to stick to it. I don't know if Diogo's going to come back in. That's perfectly fine if he's
Just
around.
be on the bench,
Let's see him. Yeah, 20 minutes, and I'm fine with that. That could make all the difference. I don't think we're going to make huge amounts of changes from tonight because that's like looking at the bench tonight, and with the greatest of respect to the young lads who are on it. If we're 2-1 down and we're needing a goal late on there's not loads and loads to bring on.
No.
So it's obviously no McAllister. He's suspended him. So yeah, I don't think there's going to be rafts and rafts of changes. I think you might see wholesale change against Southampton.
Yeah.
But I don't think you'll see that on Saturday. We might swap one or two around. Maybe Gakpo coming for Darwin.
Yeah, probably.
If Darwin's struggling.
Yeah. Diaz centre forward.
You can go that, or you could try Gakpo centre forward. But we've had this discussion on this podcast before, haven't we?
Don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah, Gakpo is a wide left player, and that's where he made his name in Holland. You know, that's perfectly fine. Sorry, the Netherlands. I want to upset our listeners in the Netherlands.
Slot always calls it Holland.
Oh, does he?
I heard him say Holland loads of times, so must be okay.
I just think back to Euro '96 when it was England against Holland, and they were Holland in every game. I know it got changed, and I just keep forgetting it.
Yeah, I always say Holland.
Yeah, it's just a farce. When you've been saying something for more than half your life, it's difficult to change.
I'm surprised you haven't got a funny pronunciation for it, to be honest.
What, Holland?
No, well, maybe you just dropped the H or something. You've got a habit of just dropping the first letter of words.
Well, that's because I'm a very northwestern, lazy, ex-Lancastrian kind of coal mining belt. That's the problem with my accent, Dave.
Oh, God. Yeah, okay, so I don't even think there's too much to say about Fulham, really, is there? Because we kind of know what the team's going to be, more or less. We also know Fulham are no pushovers. They tend to do well against us. They've given us some really tough games in recent seasons. Last year we had that dramatic win, didn't we? Endo and Trent, I think, getting late goals.
Well remembered.
Yeah, they're a handful. I put them sort of on a similar level to Bournemouth, where if you're not at it and you play them, you're going to have problems. So they've done us a favour last week. They took 2 points off Arsenal. We may as well talk about last weekend, actually, because the derby getting postponed. At the time, I was probably 75% pleased that it had been postponed. But there was still that part of me that was like, this is not going to be good, because if the teams who are chasing us, if they win, even though we've got the game in hand, the table shows like, oh, look, it's only 4 points, and City would have clawed it back if they'd have won. But now I'm 100% happy because Arsenal dropped points, City dropped points. We got a rest, which we needed because we did look a bit leggy last week. So yeah, I think last weekend went as well as it could, really, except for fucking Spurs going the full Spurs on us.
Yeah, agreed. I was kind of in the camp early. There were whispers going around, weren't there, that the game was off on Friday evening, or it would be called off. Obviously, the theatre of beams could take off in that weather.
The theatre of beams.
It could be really. The old place is creaking, so we don't want things flying off and hitting people. And of course, for Evertonians, all the trains from North Wales were cancelled, so that was game over as well. So it's just, it was a difficult one. I think that the way we played at Newcastle, when lots of players looked tired, and as I said, and I say it again because it's true, unlike Baldy or squawking about Man City's injuries, we have a few out at the moment, and it's going to start to tell on people if we can't rotate them. And not just physically, mentally as well. As I said, if in a normal time we could just rotate Darwin out for a game and just say, just have a rest, lad, and come back and chomping at the bit. Can't do that at the moment because we don't have enough strength in depth. Should we have enough strength in depth? That's an argument for another time from another podcast. But we don't. So yeah, I was quite pleased to see the game off. And then when you see the conditions, if that game that was wild, that was probably the strongest wind over a consistent period that I can remember in this country.
Agreed. There's trees blowing down all over the place.
Yeah, exactly. So for me, not even a close to being the wrong decision. It's the right decision for safety and, if I'm being honest, for footballing reasons. The last thing we need is them launching the ball into the box every opportunity towards that Tarkovsky or towards that big guy up front whose name I've already forgotten. Beto. Sorry. Yeah. Yes, or towards him or Calvert-Lewin. It would have been horrific. It would have been absolutely horrific. So, from that point of view, maybe I'm overstating their effectiveness. Maybe it would have been a good time to play them because they're not exactly high on confidence
not in a
at the moment.
70-mile-an-hour wind. It wouldn't have been. Dyche ball in that kind of wind with Kelleher was going to start as well. Slot said on Friday Alisson wasn't ready. That's a bit weird to me. He said Alisson wasn't going to be ready for the derby, but he plays tonight. I mean, it's 3 days really going to make that much difference?
It's not a huge amount of difference.
Strange.
But, I mean, I know that we're led by statistics and people talking about the red zone and stuff like that. So I think Slot just accepts that advice at face value and doesn't question it. So I don't know what difference 3 days makes, and then you've got the travel factored in as well. I don't know, but there you go. That's why I'm not a sports scientist, I suppose. I'm just some jabroni on a podcast.
Yep.
But it's for me, it was almost after 20 minutes of that game at not White Hart Lane. You're thinking this is turning out to be a deluxe weekend.
Yeah.
Of the three, I would probably say that I'm more comfortable with Chelsea gaining points on us than the others.
Yeah,
because
same.
we know I know City aren't this force that they were, but if they start to win 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in a row, it's become psychological for you then because you know that they can do it.
They're the bogeyman, aren't they?
I don't think they're capable.
If they're dead,
like
kill them again,
and
then kill them again some more, and then set fire to it. Don't just walk away from it because they'll just, you turn your back and then they're back on the feet. So, yeah, I totally with you there. Let them drop more points. And, if we need to worry about Chelsea down the road, then, yeah, we will. But for now, get City out.
The biggest threat at Arsenal. I don't get me wrong, Chelsea have got enough goals in them, but you do feel that Chelsea can throw in a result somewhere. With Arsenal are a much more consistent threat. So them dropping points against Fulham was an enormous bonus, and we can really, really, really put pressure on them with a result on Saturday. I can't remember who Arsenal are playing. I can't remember whether it's a particularly difficult game. I'm just looking on my phone. Oh no, they've not. They've got Everton.
Yeah.
so that's 3 points. We can't be risking the red shite doing anything, can we? So that will be touch your toes. That'll be like 4-0 or whatever. So that's taking place at the same time as our game. There's no early kick-off on Saturday because there's not even a game on Friday. I don't know why there's not an early kick-off on Saturday, but there isn't one. Oh, there's 3 games on Sunday, that's why. 2 o'clock, 4:30, and 7 o'clock on Sunday. I don't know why you do that.
7 o'clock on Sunday?
Yeah, you've got, on Sunday, you've got Brighton against Palace at 2 o'clock. Man City against Man United at 4:30. So we have to listen to 2 sets of droning dickheads singing Christmas songs.
I don't think you ever hear a peep out of City fans.
No, but they'll just play Shine before a game or whatever.
How would you know? You don't know any Oasis songs, remember?
Well, quite, yeah. I mean, I didn't like them when I was a kid, so I'm not going to change that now. Viva Lightning Seed today was always better, and Pulp and Blur. In fact, pretty much any band you can think of are better than Oasis. But I want to talk about Chelsea against Brentford, which is at 7 o'clock, Dave, and Southampton against Tottenham, which is also at 7 o'clock, which could be hilarious.
So there's Tottenham 2 7 o'clock Sunday games?
Yeah.
What the fuck? What's going on?
I have no idea.
That's weird.
I'm
just glad it's not.
I know. Well, it's I know it's Christmas, but like the strange kickoff times normally come in around about the 20th
Yeah,
of
not this
December.
early. Yeah,
not like they're not the 15th of December. So I've no idea what's going on. I'm sure it could potentially be a policing issue. I'm not sure, but I'm not so sure that there's going to be tons of trouble at Chelsea against Brentford. But I'm not well informed on such matters, so I won't talk about them. But basically, that's a long way of saying Arsenal playing Everton at 3 o'clock. We play Fulham at 3 o'clock. We need to keep that pressure up because they're going to
yeah,
win.
definitely.
And we need to make sure that we don't let throw one in. And as you've already said, and I will agree with you in full, as we proved last season, if you're not fully on it, Fulham will hurt
Yeah,
you. They will.
they're a handful.
Yeah, they're a handful. They've got plenty of attacking players. They scored that wonderful goal on Saturday out of nowhere. Jimenez with that brilliant goal. Just out of nowhere, ball into the channel, bang, 1-0. That's all it takes. If Traore turns up, he's a handful. I know we didn't have a good game on Sunday particularly, but he can turn up. They've got some really good players. That Sander Berg played very well against Arsenal as well. They've not had a game midweek, so they'll be fully revved up and ready to go. So it's a game where we need to exercise extreme caution. I don't want any like last gasp Endo equaliser and then Trent winners if we can avoid it. I don't want Bernd Leno wasting 14 hours and having 11 minutes added on in each half.
Yeah.
I want a comfortable routine, preferably to nil win. I like 2-0 wins, and I don't mean 2-0, I mean 2-0, as in no goals conceded. I buzz off that, I thrive off that. That's our first clean sheet in, I think, 5 away games today.
Yeah, we've been shipping a couple of games, haven't we?
Yeah, we have. Yeah, so I don't like that. I like the nil. I like keeping things a bit more measured and controlled. So let's have another clean sheet, please.
Yeah. I'll take any win on Saturday. I don't think it's going to be a comfortable win where we roll them over. I think it'd be a tough game, but we should have enough. Should be able to come through, get the 3 points. Just before we go, I think we need to talk about the David Coote news. Obviously, we did an emergency pod when all of that broke. Since then, there was other things came out about him, and then it just went quiet. And then yesterday, they announced that he's been sacked. I thought the explanation for it was pretty vague. So everyone assumes, he's been sacked for what he said about Jurgen Klopp and that. Well, the explanation didn't really say that. Was he sacked for that? Was he sacked for the video of him like snorting some sort of white powder, which we won't draw any conclusions as to what it is, but or was it the betting thing? The WhatsApp chat where he's talking about yellow cards and stuff. Was it something else that we don't even know about yet that's going to eventually come out? I just felt like that the explanation was far too vague. And I'm so suspicious about it all. I just feel like, because I said this at the time, he knows where the bodies are buried. He's got the screenshots and the ref's WhatsApp chat, and he's like, well, yeah, I've done this, and you've got me on this, but what about this, and this that I've got in the group chat from all these other referees? He's bound to have stuff on everyone. So he's been sacked, but to me, that's like, well, he's probably just been given a big wedge of cash, and however much it's going to take for him to remain silent. That's, maybe stuff will come out that contradicts that. I don't know. We'll see. But that's my view on it. He's been compensated to keep his mouth shut. And it's like, there was no way they could bring him back. They could have done after the Klopp thing, but all the other stuff that came out, he was finished. There was no way they could have rehabilitated him and brought him back in, especially after like the betting thing had come out. Which, that might have been nothing. That might have just been him like being the big man in the chat, just joking around. Who knows? But you can't have that. That cannot be out there because the suspicion's always going to be there then. So he was finished. So I just think he's been paid off just to keep quiet because he knows stuff about everyone else. There's no doubt about it. Like things that he's done, like things that he said about Liverpool and Klopp. Are you seriously telling me that other referees haven't said the same thing? And not specifically just about us, but about anybody. And he'll probably have like the screenshots. So that was my take on it. It's like I wasn't satisfied with the explanation he gave. And I thought, yeah, this is what I thought was going to happen. He's just being paid off. So I don't know. What are your thoughts on it?
I also know where the bodies are buried, Dave. It's typical PGMOL, isn't it? Rounding of circles, circling the wagons, should I say? Just nothing. No kind of acceptance that something's been done wrongly, that their processes might need improving, that referees aren't whiter than white. It's just, he's gone. And I too would like to know why, because we have a running history with him over the last 4 or 5 years. This is the guy who allowed Jordan Pickford to pretty much destroy Virgil van Dijk's knee and didn't send the referee to the screen for it. And
because
he's been on my hit list.
He forgot to check.
Yeah, well, quite. Yeah, I mean, we've seen some aberrations with VAR. It's almost like referees are imbeciles, run by an imbecile. But when I look back to that, like, the chip on his shoulder with us seems to have started with when he didn't give a penalty for us against Burnley, which ultimately cost us 100 points, by the way.
Yeah.
We drew 1-1 with Burnley and we finished on 99 points.
Have you watched that back recently?
Yeah, it was a penalty.
It was, but I don't think it was like a stonewall, clear cut. You can't argue with that decision because he does get the ball before he gets Robbo. But I think there was more to it in that game. I think there was other decisions, there was other penalty appeals and stuff, and that was like the final straw. But that decision alone, I didn't think was that much of a shocker.
I mean, fundamentally, he's never been any good.
No, he's not.
Weak. He's one of the weak referees. You know, one of the ref. There's some of the referees you see, like, people don't tend to bother surrounding your Anthony Taylors of the world because they're not gonna pay them any heed. Whereas people tend to surround the likes of Coote. Yes, he's a little busybody, you might get a yellow card out, but you might get in his head. Fundamentally, the biggest problem with David Coote is not what he thinks about Jurgen Klopp, not what he thinks about Liverpool, not what he thinks is acceptable to shove up his nose, not what he thinks is acceptable to be the big hard man in the chat, whether he's booked a player before a match like Roy Keane begged David Ellery to do once. The fundamental problem is that he's not a very good referee. He never was, never would be, never will be. Now, he might reappear like the Undertaker at WrestleMania. Dong! The lights will come on and suddenly he's in the Saudi League. Dong! He's on a business trip to the UAE with Michael Oliver. You know, like, these things can always still happen, but in terms of his Premier League career, certainly over. I mean, Bobby Madness in the lower leagues, isn't he? After he disappeared for a few seasons for, I think he was being blackmailed, wasn't he, if I remember correctly?
I can't remember. There were so many false things going around about him. I can't even remember what was the truth.
I read an article where he was interviewed about it, and I can't remember, but something wasn't right, and his integrity could have been compromised, so that's why he left. But I think he went to referee in Finland or somewhere daft like that, and then came back. You can't rule out that that's going to happen to David Coote. He might appear in the Championship or
in the jungle next year.
Yeah, I'm sure Ant Pet and Det Pet will have a field day with him if that happens. But that's the fundamental problem with David Coote. It's not what he thinks about our manager, not what he thinks about our club, our players. I don't care. That the fundamental fact is that he's not very good at his job. You need to be at least competent as a referee, and he is not even close to that. Every game he has is totally out of control. Every VAR game that he does seems to have a controversial decision. He's simply not very good. So good riddance to bad rubbish.
There's one other aspect to it which, you know, people are asking the question, and is he? Did they? Because he went for so long without refereeing our games, and the question is, did they know about that video? Did he, when that happened, did he say to them, "Oh shit, look, there's a video which may come out. I've said this." Did they know about it and they kept him away from our games, or did he just say, "Look, I don't want to do Liverpool games. I've got a problem with Klopp"? They've not. There's no, like, they investigated themselves. There was no like independent inquiry over this. It was like, yeah, we'll look into it. Okay, we've sacked him. I'm like, yeah, but we need to know a bit more about what's gone down here. Why was he away from our games for so long? Was that his doing, or was it your doing? Did you keep him away because you knew about the video? You know, I just feel like it all just seems a little bit too murky. Will we ever find out? Will that ever come to light?
Brilliant point. Yeah, it's almost like they have someone in charge of the referees who is very, very good at diverting blame onto other people. It's almost like they've got an ex-South Yorkshire copper in charge who is very well media trained. He's very good at doing the wringing hands, trying to take control, whataboutery. He's trained in all of these things, and there's and this is why people don't trust referees. It's very rare that you go to a game and think this ref's on the take. You know, I can get very angry with referees. I do that frequently, and I make no apologies for it because they're all terrible to differing extents, but they're all terrible, and they spoil the game and their interpretation of the rules. The rules are sometimes to blame for poor refereeing as well, by the way. However, we don't have any accountability and we don't have any visibility into the processes. It's not going onto a talk show with Michael Owen in a situation that you've got completely under control, because what's Michael Owen going to do? He's not exactly like bloody Michael Burke, is he? He's not going to ask the difficult searching questions.
No,
he's not Trevor McDonald. He's just going to ask questions that no doubt Howard Webber's written, or
he's not even Trevor McDonald.
Yeah, exactly that. Yeah, so you get in the PGMOL view that as transparency. Oh well, we go on out every week and do the VAR reviews, and we say when we got it wrong. Yeah, but this is way more important than that. If there's been a referee going around refereeing our games and they've known that video exists, that opens you up to a host of allegations, especially when you have, and obviously I'm not making any accusations in David Coote's direction over this one because he wasn't involved in it, especially when you have the VAR screw up at Spurs last season. Something as serious as that, you know, like it opens up all kinds of questions and allegations that can be made against it. If you know as an organisation that you have someone who has that opinion about a football club or a person or players or whatever in your midst, you have to handle it. You have to confront it. Whether that is relieving David Coote of his duties of Liverpool games permanently, then you can do that. Do you dismiss him for having something like this in the public domain? Well, they have done. I would suggest that's the main reason. And bringing it into disrepute with his popping candy.
I think all three incidents that have come out, all three of them could be sackable offences.
Absolutely, yeah.
I don't think they would have sacked him just based on the first video.
Someone in work asked me, like, what do you think he got sacked for? This, or this? And I said, yes, because I think it's a combination of all three. But like, how much more is there to come out potentially? And again, you know, like I don't care about David Coote. I don't wish him ill, but you know, like, how much more is there to come out? What more could we find out about what he's been doing or saying? You know, like, are there more videos? Do we have evidence? There's all kinds of things that could come out about this still.
Well, all these rats who he's involved with have all been like selling stuff to the Sun, haven't they? So, you know, I almost felt sorry for him at times, but just because of the source of these stories. It's like it automatically makes you want to just side with the other person, even though it's David Coote. As soon as the Sun are involved, it just, I go like in completely the opposite direction. But leaving that aside, I do think there's probably a lot more stuff that could come out. Whether or not it's relevant now, whether anyone would actually care, I don't know. But, you know, I always felt like this is the tip of the iceberg.
Absolutely, that's it. I mean, I'm not accusing any other referees of this, but
I'm talking about tip of the iceberg with David Coote. I think there's probably other stuff going on. Because he's an idiot. That's the biggest thing here, Dan. He's a fucking idiot. The fact that he will allow himself to be videoed saying that, the fact that he goes in a WhatsApp chat with someone who he didn't even know, the person who he said like about the booking with the Leeds game, he didn't even know that person. It was someone who'd like he'd only just met in that chat or whatever. Like, how stupid do you have to be like a public figure who you need to be squeaky clean, and you're putting yourself in those positions? He's got to be like the biggest idiot in the country. So it won't just be that. There'll be other stuff or other positions he's put himself in.
Yeah, and of course, are you telling me that David Coote is the only person in the world who doesn't like a manager or a club? No. Of course he's not. But the difference is, I don't think any of the other Premier League referees are brain dead enough to let themselves get recorded doing it, or to put it in a WhatsApp group.
I think they might in the referee's own group chat, because they're all kind of... It's the tree of trust, isn't it?
It is, and obviously, like, who can cast the first stone? There be a very brave man to do that, because if you said one thing about one person, then that could come back to bite you. You like tit for tat, and it's almost like the nuclear deterrent, that, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I know this about you. Well, I know this about you, right? Well, neither of us will say anything about it ever. And again, it's something that I always accuse referees of, and I will do it again here. They just circle wagons. They are not apparently to be questioned, and their conduct and morals are not to be called into question when it's quite clear. We have evidence. I have said for years that David Coote is a terrible referee, and he seems to be even worse when he's refereeing Liverpool. And it just gives me ammunition, because
you have said
the
that
evidence
with
is there.
Every other referee as well, though, Dan, to be fair.
I have, but I challenge you to find someone I've criticised as much over the last 5 years as I have Mr. Coote.
Yeah. You've got it in for Mr. Kavanagh, who's actually all right.
Oh, Mr. Kavanagh's all right. He had a bad game, in my opinion, and the kind of the stigma and slander appears to have stuck, that I think he's a terrible referee. I think he's probably towards the better end of them. Since Michael Oliver's United Arab Emirates inspired decline, I actually think that Mr. Kavanagh, and that's just for you, Jules, is one of the better referees that we have at the moment. And Anthony Taylor seems to have improved a bit as well. I've had it in for him again, though. It's the mafia with referees, isn't it? Why on earth would you put yourselves under pressure as a governing body by appointing the referee of Liverpool against Manchester City, someone from Manchester? Why would you do that to yourselves?
And then having the fourth official and the VAR also from Manchester.
Yeah, it's like I kept saying, it's like 2000s WWE, where you get Vince McMahon as the special guest timekeeper, Stephanie McMahon as the special guest commentator, Shane O'Mac as the special guest referee. That's what it feels like. Buddy Pat Patterson and Gerald Briscoe will do a run-in as the special guest pitch side announcer, but he'd take the job off George. That's what it feels like when you have those games against Man City. Why did they do it to themselves? Why did they put referees from Manchester in charge of those games? And don't get me wrong, against City, again, I'll put it on record, I thought Chris Kavanagh had a great game. I thought he had a great game against City. He took none of their shit, and to be fair, it was just a good game of football. There was no drama. That only kind of thing, that snivelling little Bernardo Silva dipshit, his whining fell on deaf ears. It was the kind of game where we just hustled them out of the game, and I love that. And he let the game flow. So you've got to give him credit for that. I mean, there are some pretty terrible referees out there, and there are some less terrible ones out there, and Mr. Kavanagh is one of the less terrible ones.
Yeah, I'd take any of the Manc referees over Michael Oliver in a big game. I'll tell you that now. Don't want him anywhere near big games for us.
Michael Oliver used to be FIFA, UEFA. He used to be the man you would think, this guy is good enough to referee a World Cup final or a Champions League final, and he's regressed so much. I like some referees are around, like Mike Dean was around for a long time, and I don't know why, but some referees just don't sustain that level. Now, Mike Dean was never the best, he was never the worst either, he was mid-table, and as a referee that's fine, but I never understand why some referees seem to burn out quicker than others. Now, some people might suggest that business trips to the United Arab Emirates are a reason for some questionable performances and questionable decisions. I don't know. Some of those people might say that.
See, my problem with Michael Oliver, it goes back a long way, and like this will sound stupid, but this was a massive red flag to me. He came out one day and he's refereeing a game, and he had tram lines shaved in the side of his head, and like. I know it's not a big deal, but to me it was. I'm like, hang on, you're a referee. You're supposed to be like, I mean, maybe because I've just grown up in an era where referees were always like fellas in the 50s with like bald heads and comb overs when I started going to the game. Yeah, that was a referee, but like they had that sort of air of like snootiness and, you know, like an authority figure. Whether they were any good or not's not the point. They always came across as like old men, like refereeing young men and, like, you know, just laying the law down and stuff. And I seen Michael Oliver come out with these fucking tram lines shaved into his head, and I might be wrong, but I think he had his eyebrow done as well. I like matching like the Aaron Lennon thing with like the tram line shaved into his eyebrows. I'm like, no, what? You've got to be like a respected figure on that pitch. And if I'm a player looking at you, I'm like, look at the fucking state of this dickhead. So that was like a massive red flag years ago, that was. And then obviously he became like best referee in the country for a brief period, and then now I just think he's an absolute joke. But yeah, that was the first thing for me, was tram lines in his head. I can't have that with a referee. That's just not acceptable. And maybe I'm being old fashioned, I don't know, but I just don't think referees should be given off that. It's like, I wouldn't want a referee coming out with like bleach blonde hair either. I don't think that's acceptable.
Have we got any of those nose studs that Robbie used to have as well? Just to
no, but
to
see what I mean? Though I feel like
look.
you've got to carry yourself a certain way, and certain things you shouldn't be doing. If a referee comes out with like bleach blonde hair, straight away I'm looking and going, nah, I can't take you seriously. But I don't know. I mean, I'm like that with footy players as well, to be fair, but more so with referees. It's not acceptable. But yeah, we've gone on for. I think we've spoke more about refs than we have about the game tonight. Now I think we've probably been done like 20 minutes on refs. So definitely need to wrap this up.
Accurately sums up the game. But what I will say, just to give you some cheer, because I know you're not feeling too great, is actually Real Madrid have been pegged back by Atalanta, and that game is currently 1-1.
Good.
So they are really, really struggling to make that top.
I want them out so badly, you know.
Well, if Feyenoord win tomorrow as it stands, they can go above both PSG and Real, amongst others. So that would Celtic are above Real Madrid at the moment.
Brendan will have that on his headstone, won't he? He'll have that league table printed out and in his hallway next to the portrait of himself.
Yeah. And with another big picture of him next to it with his thumb, picture of him with his thumb up.
All right, let's just do quick predictions for the weekend then, and then we'll get out of here. You going with 2-0? That was what you wanted. Are you going to predict the 2-0?
Yeah, a tough, hard-fought 2-0 win. Yeah, I think key to that game is if we score early, then Fulham's game plan won't really change that much, and I think we might nick another one. So yeah, I'll go 2-0, but it will not be easy. It wouldn't surprise me if it was a tighter game than that even.
Do you know what? I think it's going to be a little bit fraught, and I'm going for 3-2. I hope not as well. I hope it's just a nice, relaxing, clean sheet and easy win. But no, I'm expecting it to be a little bit dramatic. So yeah, I'm going for 3-2.
Just before we sign off, Dave, if you don't mind, just a personal update. As kind of our listeners know, I ran for the Green Party as the general election candidate for St Helens North earlier this year. Yeah. And on Thursday, I am in with a chance of becoming a councillor of my local ward. Now, I don't suppose we've got many listeners in the Blackbrook area
you never know.
Of this particular podcast, but if you do, listen and just come out and vote for me. But other than that, I think having a Don as a councillor would be a really interesting idea. But yeah, by-election Thursday would be cool if I won. So I just wanted to mention that, really.
Good stuff. Best of luck with that, Dan. Fingers crossed.
Cheers.
So yeah, we're done. We'll be back on Saturday evening. We'll record that Saturday night after the game. So until then, thanks for listening, and we'll catch you soon.